காலை வணக்கம் மக்களே. காலை வணக்கம் மக்களே. இன்றைக்கி என்னென்னா லிட்டில் ஆர்ஃபியஸ் கேமை இன்றைக்கி முடிச்சிடலாம் அப்படின்னு பிளான் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். ஏன்னா அடுத்து ஒரு சூப்பரான கேம் ஒன்று பார்த்து வச்சுருக்கேன். அது ப்ளே பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அடுத்த 2 கேம் இருக்குது நாளைக்கு. இன்றைக்கி ஈவினிங்கே ஒரு கேம் புதுசு போடுறோம். இன்றைக்கி ஈவினிங்கில் நைட்டு ஒரு கேம் போடுறோம். அப்புறம் நாளைக்கு காலைல ஒரு கேமு. ரெண்டுமே சூப்பராக இருக்குது. ஏதோ எனக்கு ஐபேடில் அது ரொம்ப தேடி கண்டுபிடிச்சி கஷ்டப்பட்டு எடுத்த அந்த 2 கேமும். கிராஃபிக்ஸும் நல்லா இருக்கணும், ஸ்டோரியும் நல்லா இருக்கணும். ரெண்டையும் பார்த்து எடுக்க வேண்டியதாக இருந்துச்சு. அதில் இது 2 தான் சிக்கிச்சு. ஒரே நிமிடம் மக்களே. யாரோ ஒருத்தர் வந்தாப்புல பார்த்துட்டு அப்படியே போயிட்டாப்புல. ஐயோ இவனா அப்படின்ட்டு ஓட்டின மாதிரி இருக்குது. ரைட்டு, நாம் கேமை ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவோம். அப்புறம் இன்னைக்கு தம்ப்நெயில் அப்புறம் எப்படி இருக்குன்னு பார்த்து சொல்லுங்கள். என்கிட்ட இதில் வாய்ஸ் கேட்குது. ஓகே. ம் 81% கேமை முடிச்சாச்சு. லெட்ஸ் ரீகேப்.
Sent to the center of the earth as part of a top secret mission to ensure the delivery of Little Orpheus, an atomic powered capsule. You promptly vanished until you casually wandered up to Molodiyozhnaya station 3 years later, claiming to have saved the world but lost Little Orpheus in the process. Is this correct?
Yes, General, it is, but...
You are charged with many crimes against the state, including desertion, lying to a superior officer, and sedition. Any one of these charges bears the punishment of execution by firing squad.
General, you must be reasonable. I did my best. It's all true, I swear upon the lives of my family.
Oh, do you? Auntie Marcia and Uncle Vanya, the traveling tinker and the pig dentist, or perhaps Cousin Pavel, the criminal mastermind with the unhealthy taste for eggs. How stupid do you think I am, Comrade Ivanov?
Subdayu, it is all true.
Maybe your toy maker, or was it watchmaker, father, who apparently taught you all he knew, despite being killed when you were less than 5 years old.
I was a fast learner?
You have precisely 1 minute to convince me not to summon the guards, and have you shot on the spot.
A minute? A lifetime. It's all I need, General. I was astounded. My father, I told you, I think I told you, he was a toy maker, and he often played with clockwork parts. But this made all those childhood wonders pale into insignificance. And it was fortunate indeed that my uncle...
Vanya, the pig dentist?
No, my other uncle, Sasha, had taken me mountaineering in the Urals during my childhood, for it was only by scaling these giant mechanical parts that I would reach Little Orpheus.
Yes, I had been thinking that it seems awfully convenient that you were such an accomplished climber. I don't, however, recall any mention of this Uncle Sasha in your file.
He was a very private man.
A very unlikely man.
That was Uncle Sasha's blessing and his curse.
அனிமேஷன்லாம் வந்து நீட்டாக பண்ணியிருக்கானுங்க. ஒரே கல் ரைட் இப்போ புரியுது. கிராணியோட சூப்பர் கேம் ஒன்று எடுத்துட்டயா?
Those great wheels and cogs clashed and boomed. The vast hands of all time crunching forever and ever around.
Ivan Ivanovich.
Pendulums and springs and great big wheels and tiny little wheels.
Tavarish Privalov, stop.
Though at least the Menkf were not here, especially as they seemed to infest the world below the surface. Menkf, Menkf everywhere. Menkf, Menkf, Menkf. Many Menkf. Menkf aplenty. Menkf.
You are a bambling. Comrade, enough.
Aha! High above! On the clock face, perhaps! With his radios and his crystals. Now, if I could just reach him, I could use the bomb.
There is no bomb.
But where was Toll? Aha! High above! On the clock face, perhaps! With his radios and his crystals. If I could just reach him, I could use the bomb.
There is no bomb. You have no idea how to make a bomb. You have no idea about how to do anything one might actually expect of a cosmonaut.
The bomb?
Ivan Ivanovich! Time is up. Stop talking, Tavarish. You don't know what happens next. It is obvious. You've done very well. I applaud you for your efforts and your story. It is a wonderful tale, Comrade Privalov. I have enjoyed it immensely. But every story needs an ending. And it is clear yours does not have one.
Just need more time.
I think that even if I gave you all the time in the world, it would not be enough.
No, General. I can do this. That is, I remember what happens next. I just need to catch my breath and compose myself.
We both know how this story ends, comrade.
But Little Orpheus, you haven't heard what happened.
We will find out soon enough. You will be executed, and another expedition will be sent.
No, you cannot. You cannot. We must never go back. You don't understand.
Make me, then. Make me understand. I am a kind man, although you may not believe this. I do not want to have you shot. So help me. Make me understand. Tell me what happened to Little Orpheus.
It was.
Ivan Ivanovich?
It was. It was. No. I'm sorry, General. I'm sorry, I have no idea. You are right. I simply cannot think what happened next. It's just a blank, General. There's nothing there. I am very tired, you see.
Comrade Privalov. Ivan.
You're right. It's over, General. Perhaps you would be so kind as to write to my mother for me.
Of course I will.
You are a kind man, as you have said. And, General,
Yes, Ivan.
was it a good story?
Oh, yes. It was an excellent story.
Thank you, General. I am just sorry I couldn't give you an ending.
Unless...
General?
Quiet, Tovarish, I am thinking. Unless... I seem to remember that there were many problems with Little Orpheus during production.
General?
Problems with the casing around the atomic battery. Concerns.
Concerns, General?
Yes, concerns. Unlikely though that might be. Yeah, it seems if I remember that it failed to secure properly. A sharp blow could spring the hatch and expose the fragile casing of the bomb to any would-be vandal.
I'm not sure I follow.
A resourceful yet forgetful hero might, one would think, take advantage of that fact.
But how, General? Where would I find something to strike it with?
The son of a watchmaker would easily find something within a giant clock mechanism that resembled a hammer, surely.
A hammer? Why, yes, General. I do remember now. I grasped the hammer-shaped thingamabob.
Let's just agree it was a hammer, Ivan.
Yes, of course. Let's do that. I recovered my senses, shook my head, and looked about me. In my distracted stupor, I had climbed further up the tower than I ever thought possible. In front of me was the clock face, and I gazed out through it at the sheer expanse of history. And I knew whatever happened next happened next.
The hand of destiny had fallen upon your shoulder.
Yes, it had. And what an extraordinary hand it was.
And so, Tol was defeated. Little Orpheus destroyed, the bomb lost forever.
Not just that, General. In that moment, time sprung back to its proper shape, and I found myself once more in Plutonia, as the start of my journey. But the wound in the interior sky was gone. The drill was gone. It was as if I had never been here. And they were Mengf, free and happy, without the tyranny of Tol, free to pursue their simple lives.
But we can never go back?
Never, General. One drill, one metal sphere, one lone cosmonaut was nearly enough to destroy time and unleash the tyrant Tol upon our world. Who would think an innocuous beeping radio housed in a ball of metal could change the world so dramatically?
Who indeed? But tell me, what of you? And what of your return to the surface?
I stayed amongst the Mengf for as long as I could. But I came to realize they had begun to worship me as a king. No, General, I am a good socialist and could not allow this workers' paradise to become corrupted. And so I left that wonderful land for the last time.
And then?
And then I walked. For 2 years I wandered, always looking for a way home, through lands and worlds almost beyond imagination. Until one day I emerged, blinking into sunlight, and realized I was home.
Until one day I emerged? Just like that? You just found your way back to the surface?
Well, General, it was a little more complicated than that. There were great obstacles to overcome and terrible challenges to face and incredible lands to explore.
Enough, Ivan. Little Orpheus is lost forever. The interior is sealed. You have returned with a story of socialism, triumphing over incredible odds. It is, as I said, enough for one night. Enough for my report, at least.
General, if I may...
Comrade Ivan Ivanovich Privalov, you are found guilty of all charges brought against you and sentenced to execution by firing squad. However, having listened to your story, I believe you are quite mad. In other words, I find your madness guilty, not you. And we cannot execute madness. And indeed, there are lessons to be learned, even in the depths of this madness. Perhaps the Americans were right to send the chimp after all.
So, General?
Get out of my sight, Ivan. Go home. Enjoy a state pension as a madman. Just make sure I never see you again.
Yes, General. Of course, General. Anything you say. I shall be small and quiet and live a life without excitement and...
Out! Until one day I just emerged. Oh, very good, Tavarish. Very good indeed.
ஓகே வந்து விட்டேன். என்ன 0 வியூஸ்லேயே நிற்குது? ரைட்டு. முடியலை, கவலைப்படாத, இன்னும் இருக்கு. இதுதான் கடைசி எபிசோட்.
Who's the best space dog? Oh, где моя хорошенькая моя. Ты просто космическая. Hey, who's the best hairy cosmonaut? It is indeed a lovely sunset. And it reminds me of the skies of Peru. I didn't? I never told you about the wonderful sky city?
நான்
Well, it was an extraordinary place, but one filled with dangers. Well, it might have been simple for you to cross it, but you were in a space capsule. I had to rely on my own 2 feet, my noshki. Feet which, I might add, had just crossed the interior, beaten the villain Toll, and helped inspire the Myank to a workers' revolution. Oh, that's all very easy for you to say, but your idea of civilized behavior is licking your own bottom in public. No. My adventures above the clouds were filled with untold dangers, death-defying escapes, and some really quite extraordinarily large Bielorybitsa. And it happened like this.
அது எப்படி நடந்துச்சுன்னு நான் இப்போ உனக்கு சொல்கிறேன் அப்படி.
Weeks had passed since I left Plutonia, and one evening, exhausted, I simply fell asleep at the foot of a strange windmill. And when I awoke, well, that thought didn't cross my mind. I was exhausted after all. This is besides the point, my nosy canine friend. What matters is this. When I awoke, the windmill and the ground around it had been carried high into the air. What magic was this? Toza magia. As unlikely, perhaps, as a suitcase-sized dog orbiting the center of the Earth for many years. Quite. Quick as a flash, Kakmonia, my training leapt into play, and I began to paddle the strange contraption through the clouds in search of answers. It is entirely possible that a miller who owns a windmill capable of levitating high into the air may also own a flying machine. Oh, now you're just being silly. May I continue my recounting of how I sailed over the sky gardens towards the mystical city of Peru? Oh, I must, my moil shatidrug. I must. What powerful emanations! What mighty gusts! What an epic shkval! They reminded me of Cousin Pavel, yes! But whereas his rearward zephyrs could curdle milk and tarnish the teaspoons, these magical wafts only serve to carry me aloft and onwards.
மேஜிக் தான் வந்து எனக்கு அதை தான் ஞாபகப்படுத்துச்சு.
But something was afoot in the gardens of Perun. This horrid muck staining the surfaces and making my nose curl. Yes, it was positively Pavelian in scent. But it did not belong here. I think I once told you of Auntie Masha's passionate encounter in a cable car with the manganese entrepreneur from Chiatura. Now, Auntie Masha told me that there was a disagreeable stain and smell all around those factories and smelting works. Our industry is not without its dangers. Could it be that the once bucolic gardens of Perun were being corrupted by unchecked pollution? After all, science is a double-edged sword, my bristly confidant. Consider Zemikhov. Of course. I apologize. Прошу прощения. Two-headed dogs is perhaps a rather insensitive analogy, but not without justification in this instance. I have seen the blemished lands around Norilsk, but I could not believe that I would find such pollution here. But this was nothing to the true horror of what was shortly to unfold.
ஆனால் அதோட முடியல, அடுத்து இன்னொரு பெரிய ஷாக் இருந்துச்சு எனக்கு. தண்ணிக்குள்ளே போனார், அப்புறம் வானத்தில் பறந்தார். இப்போ வானத்து மேலே இருக்க ஒரு சிட்டியில் இருக்காப்பு. செம்மையாக இருக்குல்ல இது. இங்கே பாருங்க, அப்படியே கீழே இறங்குது. ஸ்டெப் பண்ண ஒரு ஸ்டெப் எடுத்து வச்சு அது கீழே போகுது. அப்படி நல்லா இது பண்ணிக்கலாம். ரெண்டு பேர் பார்த்துட்டு நைஸ் பார்த்துட்டு போனோம். யாராவது லைக்
That terrible, strashnaya machina, spewing its poison into the air, had created a monstrous thing. A being. A malignant spoiler of the noble and pure. And it had taken on the form of its prey. Well, of course. No, конечно, I was the prey. The citizens of Perun had clearly long since fled the evilly sentient smog. But I inadvertently wandered into its lair. Oh, I know. Misfortune seemed to dog me. Oh, sorry, I do apologize. To follow my every footstep. But no time to ponder, no time to bemoan the hand that fate had dealt me. No, all that was on my mind was escape, конечно.
நல்லா இருக்காயா கேட்பாங்க.
Yes, it was most interesting. The windmill seemed to be from an earlier age. Perhaps this was a devastating warning of the destructive power of unfettered industrialization. I most certainly had not forgotten about the windmills. I did not get carried away. You are missing the point. Perhaps because you are only a small dog. Oh, a brilliant, brave, spacefaring dog, of course, but a small Sabashka nonetheless. If you perhaps listened more and interrupted less, I am just getting to the explanation of the windmills. My stinky nemesis was back. But more interesting was the change in the city. My stinky nemesis was back. But more interesting was the change in the city. The windmills were fading out, clearly obsoleted, mothballed, relics. Instead, a sense of an obsession with power was apparent. Vast engines, terrible machines, ever hungry and reliant on the rapid consumption of fuel, the production of toxic fumes and choking gases. Pride, my pushisti compadre, pride, ambitia, ambition, the dark side of science. Zemechov's had too many.
Don't be ridiculous, dog. Only a durak with the intellectual capacity of a ringworm would think windmills are in any way harmful. Of course, you never had much of a chance to travel. Sarcasm doesn't suit you. You don't have the tail for it. You do, at least, have a tail. Mind you, family gossip maintained that so did Uncle Rabliem, although it was apparently little more than a stub, and a source of considerable discomfort and social anxiety for him. The question of whether or not Uncle Rabliem wagged his stub is very much off topic. What I am trying to say is that your upbringing on the streets of Moscow meant you never saw the blackened fields of Magnitogorsk. The sacrifices made by the valiant citizens of that industrial heartland, as they drowned in their own blight, even as they powered the state forwards. I was reminded of Magnitogorsk as I wandered through those fields of pipes and foundries, and I wept for the loss of innocence that so often goes hand in hand with progress. Indeed! I just evaded the slimy, oily grasp of that man-made Vadzinoi, his petroleum stink clogging my nostrils and making my head thump. And I felt a great stirring within me. Yes, much like I assume Cousin Pavel. May he never get loose again. But no, quite different. This was no volcanic upbubbling of gastric malintent. No, it was the roaring fires of justice once more ignited within me. I felt a swell of patriotic fervor and knew the hand of destiny had fallen on me once more. Yes, what a hand it was! I could not see this great wonder sink into an abyss of poison and bile. The Perunians may have been forced to abandon their city, but I had saved the world once before and was ready to answer the call again.
தப்பிச்சு வந்தேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கான். அவனோட ரியல் லைஃப்ல, அதாவது அவன் ரொம்ப நாள் வந்துட்டு தனியா இமேஜின் பண்ணிக்கிறான் நடந்துச்சு அப்படின்னு. அவன் வந்துட்டு ரியாலிட்டி இல்லையா அப்படின்னு நடந்தது வந்துட்டு
What strange metal Bielaribitsa clearly designed to swim through the air? I was amazed. And there was more. Beneath the fins, I spotted the apertures of hoses and was reminded of the time Auntie Agrafina devised a contraption to water all of her copious algae beds simultaneously with one flush of the toilet.
by a system of pipes and valves that ran throughout her house. Можно так сказать, in a manner of speaking, yes. Her algae were most irrigated, although her neighbor Victor was washing his trousers in the sink at the time and was bruised quite severely about the face and body. But these were no ordinary flying metal fish. They were designed to expel air, fresh air, and push back the polluted clouds.
வாங்கண்ணே எம்எஸ்வியூண்ணே, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? தமிழில் எப்படி இருக்குது பார்த்து சொல்லுங்கள். போகலாம் வருது. ஆமாம், இதுக்கப்புறம் எப்படி கண்டினியூ பண்ணுறது தெரியல. கீழே குச்சா செத்து போயிடுறேன், பின்னாடியும் போக முடியல, என்ன பண்ணுறதுன்னு தெரியல.
There is, of course, a fine tradition of looking to nature to solve problems of a scientific or military persuasion. Yes, as you well know. My nephew, Sergei, yes, the very same. Poor lad with his dermatological eruptions. Well, Sergei was stationed recently at Kazachya Bucht, where dolphins were being trained as brilliant aquatic agents of socialism. Why not then be inspired by marine life? Why, there is a fish, I have heard, that can shoot jets of water from beneath the surface to knock its prey off little tiny twigs and into its mouth. If you were to tell the average mushroom sheriff that a dog would orbit the earth, I suspect you would receive a similarly sneering response. No, that is because you are a small, hairy hound of uncertain parentage. I, on the other hand, am a cosmonaut, the product of many months of training, and I realized the answer to pollution was here all along. The Peronians, tragically, had simply never had time to finish their fleet. If only I could find a working, flying fish. If only. If only. Yes, if only. It made perfect sense, of course. The poisonous Duhatas that engulfed Perun was like a nasty cold. You know what to do with a cold to rid yourself of it. You may not get colds, but nor can you operate bee-shelling machinery. So, don't get ideas above your station. We humans, on the other hand, may produce up to 16 million perfectly unshelled bees in an average shift. But we are martyrs to our sinuses. But where then? Aha! These are remedies we Russians have been perfecting over the long centuries of harsh winters. Onions. A quick snifter of onion oil will clear your head faster than a Pragviev can clear a hypothetical minefield. Yes, if I could find a functional fish, I would become that onion. knew it. Yes, the working fish, the ribka. I knew I was at the heart of Perun, and my noxious pursuer had renewed its chase with a terrible vigor. Not far now. I just had to keep going, keep pushing. It's almost as if you knew, Paul. And how about it?
ப்ரோ ஹை ப்ரோ கம்மியில் எப்படி ப்ரோ இருக்குது நல்லா இருக்கா புதுசாக ட்ரை பண்ணியிருக்கேன் ஏதாவது
There she was. A beautiful sight. Her scales shimmering in the sunlight. Her fins poised for action. Her onion cannons primed for a great aerial conflict unseen in the annals of human endeavor. And you are just jealous it was a bigger flying machine than yours. No, my bilious pal. It was time for science to fight back. Yes, my hairy companion. Paechale! Onwards to victory! a miracle. I found myself swooping through beautiful clear skies, the strange interior sunlight gleaming on the sides of my fishy vessel. I heard birds clear their little throats and begin their wondrous gewalt, the wind gently humming on the fins. And then, all of a sudden, under it all, well, you see, in my hurry, it didn't even occur to me to check how much fuel was carried in the strange craft. With a horrible splutter, the engines choked and died. Then suddenly we were plummeting downwards towards our doom. I did not. A simple mistake that many have made. Why, my Aunt Agrafina met her untimely demise being late for a fungal sculpting seminar and making exactly the same error. Only, unfortunately, it left her stranded in sub-zero temperatures just outside Pravachitsinsk. She wasn't found until 18 years after her own funeral, but was perfectly preserved. Remarkable, really. It is beside the point, yes. So, there I was. My fabulous ship had become a terrible prison. I was hurtling to my almost certain death. My triumph turned to tragedy. But then... well, you know what happened next. Even so, moi magnati drug. That is a story for another time. A most extraordinary story, of course, filled with dangers and wonders, and canals, and invasions, and strange doorways to other worlds. But perhaps too long a story for now. Yes, indeed, my canine tavarish. Time for soup. Auntie Agrafina's famous borscht. Coming?
இப்போ என்ன அப்படின்னா இது எபிசோடாக தான் ரிலீஸ் பண்ணாங்க. முதல்ல 4 எபிசோடு, அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு 2 எபிசோடு, அப்புறம் 2 எபிசோடு அப்படி போட்டிருக்காங்க. இப்போ 9th எபிசோடு முடிஞ்சிச்சு. அடுத்த எபிசோடு எப்போ வந்து அப்டேட் ஆகும் நமக்கு தெரியல. அது வந்தோடனே அதை அப்டேட் பண்ணலாம். போக்கிமான் நைட் எப்பயும் போல தான் 4 மணிக்கு எப்பயும் போல 4 மணிக்கு. இப்போ இதில் என்ன பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னா, எந்த லெவல் இருக்கிறதுல ஈஸியாக இருந்துச்சு? ஃபஸ்ட் லெவலில் போய்ட்டு அந்த ரிவார்ட்ஸ் எடுத்து பார்ப்பேன் எப்படி இருக்குன்ட்டு. ஓகே, இந்த தடவை வந்துட்டு நம்ம மற்ற எல்லாத்தையும் ஸ்கிப் பண்ணிடலாம். அவங்க பேசுகிறது ஏதாவது வந்துச்சுன்னா அதை ஸ்கிப் பண்ணிவிட்டு.
You are Comrade Ivan Ivanovich Privalov. In 1961, you were selected for the Shukovgrad Internaut Exploration Program SSSR. This
கட்சின்ஸை எப்படி இது பண்ணுறது, செட்டிங்ஸ்
despite failing your basic physical and being caught cheating on your entrance exams. On the morning of the 12th of April 1962, you boarded a rocket drill containing the experimental device Little Orpheus with the purpose of descending through the Earth's crust to discover the relative hollowness of the interior and its suitability for colonization.
No, you've lost me, General. Did I do what?
You and Little Orpheus were dropped into an extinct volcano to drill to the center of the Earth and find out if we could establish a city there. Note, if you will, that this date is over 3 years ago.
திருப்பி வந்து விளாட்றாங்கன்னு நினைக்காதீங்க. இது ரிவார்ட்ஸ் கலெக்ட் பண்ணுறது. ரிவார்ட்ஸ் இருக்காங்க, திருப்பி பே பண்ணால் என்னென்னா ரிவார்ட்ஸ் கொடுக்குறாங்க பார்க்கலாம்.
Ivan Ivanovich, can you describe Little Orpheus to me?
Of course. It was large and round and had something of a disagreeable smell.
I was referring to its technical specification.
Well, General, I am no man of science, but it had this radio thing that I was supposed to use to let the surface...
What a handsome devil! Пускать пыль в глаза is not my intention, but I do cut a dashing figure in my interior astro suit costume.
No, I had arrived, and some sort of battery wrapped in this lead box. But I was told to not touch anything under any circumstances, and I did notice the engineers who worked on it were quite a shifty bunch.
The Little Orpheus device contained a radio transmitter capable of sending a signal through miles of solid rock. In order to boost this, a powerful energy source was required. An atomic bomb, Comrade Ivan. An atomic bomb.
The drill device, codenamed Mother Calliope, was a testament to the brilliance of the Baikonur engineers. It now spends its days as a nesting roost for the pterodactyls of Plutonia.
That you have lost somewhere below the Earth's crust.
Ah, yes, that bomb. Of course, General. I can explain everything. But it is a long and somewhat complicated story. And let me assure you, this is not a case of milking chickens. But you won't understand where your bomb and Little Orpheus has ended up unless I start at the very beginning and you let me tell you where I've been for the last 3 years.
From the beginning, then. But this had better be good.
Good, General. It's more than good. It's extraordinary. And it began like this.
எனக்கு என்ன அப்படின்னா நோ ஐம் இன் நியூசிலாண்டு யோ ஏன் நீ வேற சாமி ஏரியா
An extraordinary sight. I realized this must be the fabled land of Plutonia, as documented by the brilliant scholar Obruchev. A trail of destruction carved by the rocket drill led down into the wild and mysterious jungle. The rocket drill itself must have snapped in half somewhere below Kamchatka, and Little Orpheus bounced out and became lost in that prehistoric forest. If I was ever to get home, my mission was clear: to find Little Orpheus.
ஆமாம் இந்த கேம் சவுண்டு வந்துட்டு கொஞ்சம் கம்மியாக தான் வச்சுருக்கேன் ஏன்னா பேசுகிறது கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு கேம் சவுண்டு கம்மி பண்ணி வந்து எதுக்கு இந்த லெவலில் நம்ம திருப்பி விளாட்றோன்னா இது வந்து ரிவார்ட்ஸ் கொடுக்குறாங்க
The Little Orpheus was a cramped and smelly affair on the inside, despite its remarkable exterior.
I steeled myself and plunged deeper into that prehistoric jungle where insects the size of dogs buzzed around.
Dogs. What sort of dogs?
I beg your pardon, General?
Large dogs or small dogs? Big like an ovcharka or small like a barlog?
Does it really matter?
Of course. Detail is all important.
Ovcharka then, General. the size of an ovcharka.
I find that very hard to believe.
Would you find it easier if they were the size of a balanka?
No. But I am enjoying your attempts to...
Another part of the rocket drill. But still no sign of Little Orpheus. The size of the Tyrannosaurus Rex was apparently a matter of debate amongst scholars of prehistory for many years. Now, having said that, the one I actually... Between the trees, I could see huge beasts, larger and... I felt like a small boy wandering amongst the magical forest. More ancient than any known to our modern times. Could it be that Pograchev was right? And deep below the Earth's surface, prehistoric monsters still roam freely.
Yes, but Little Orpheus.
The terrible lizard intent on making a snack of me was none other than the most awful of the monsters, the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oh, now you are an expert on dinosaurs.
Oh, hardly an expert, General. Just educated by the best schools in the world, like all good socialists. And I remembered one crucial thing.
I'm listening.
Well, its greed is without bottom, its hunger is ferocious, but its brain is absolutely tiny. So, it can roar and roar as much as it likes, but it will never be a match for the sharpened mind of the good Soviet worker. All I needed was a plan to outwit the monster. Imagine my shock and surprise to find in that clearing the last part of the rocket drill. More shocking was the fact it had been ransacked. Someone had made off with the tools, the weapons, the rations, and the spare parts for the Pragviev. I began to suspect foul play. Perhaps Little Orpheus was not lost at all, but stolen. All I could do was follow the trail further into Plutonia. Furious beast almost looks friendly here. Like a common house pet, like a dog or koshka. I can assure you that in person they are...
So we all agree this was the fabled land of Plutonia, do we? I don't remember accepting that.
I will admit it might not have been Plutonia if you are prepared to accept the dinosaur.
This isn't a negotiation, Ivan Ivanovich.
General, you can disagree all you like, but there's very little you can do to persuade me it wasn't a dinosaur.
I might not be able to persuade you, but I can always have you shot.
must say, I liked the mustache. I'm disappointed I was made to shave it off before my descent.
அடப்பா இவங்களா
You hid in an egg.
Yes, General. I hid in an egg.
I am glad to hear your military training was not wasted. If only I had a single legion of men as brave and ingenious as you, with only 100 men equipped with eggs to hide in, we could roll across Europe in a day.
General, are you mocking me?
You are as sharp as you are brave, Tavarish.
couldn't believe it. I still struggle to believe it. A whole lost city, buried in that jungle deep below the crust of the earth. Who would have thought it was possible?
Who indeed? It is, of course, a shame you didn't think to record the moment for posterity and help us all to get over our disbelief.
But I did, General, I did. My training was excellent, and I immediately took out my comsomolets and began to document all I could.
இங்கெல்லாம் ரிவார்ட்ஸ் அந்த இது வைக்க மாட்டானுங்க ரிவார்ட்ஸ்
So, where is this camera now, then?
Ah, General, yes. What, of course, I meant to say was my training was excellent, and I immediately reached for my camera, only to realize it must have been torn from my utility belt in the crash and lost forever in that forgotten jungle. Horrendous beast had returned and was hungrier than ever.
Perhaps it was angry it had been fooled by an egg-wearing idiot.
That is unkind, General. It may have been small of brain, but it was grand of stature.
Whereas you, Ivan Ivanovich, are lacking in both departments.
Plutonia really was a remarkable place. Quite unlike the small vegetable patch.
Presuming there were no more eggs to hide in, did you have a new plan?
I did, General.
Please, do tell me, what was this brilliant plan?
I ran like hell, General.
Please, do tell me, what was this brilliant plan?
I ran like hell, General.
Will our intrepid yet doomed hero survive the jaws of the ferocious dinosaur? Will he meet his end miles underground as an aperitif for a ravenous raptor? What dark secrets could be buried in the lost city of Agatha? Will the General ever discover the location of his lost bomb? All of these questions and more will be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
இதுதான் நம்ம கிடச்சிருக்கு ரிவார்ட்ஸில். இதில் வந்து ஒன்று அவுட்ஃபிட்டை காணும்.
Rocketry is a dangerous business.
அவுட்ஃபிட்ஸ் தனியாக வச்சுருக்காங்களா? ஓகே. ஐயோ போதும்பா, இது எதுவும் கொடுத்து திருப்பி ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிட போகிறானுங்க. நம்ம அப்படியே முடிச்சுக்கலாம். நம்ம ஈவினிங் வந்துட்டு இது போக்கிமான் நைட்டில் பார்ப்போம் மக்களே. தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச் ஃபார் சப்போர்ட்டிங் திஸ் கேம். அவ்வளோதான், இந்த கேம் வந்து ஒரு முடிவுக்கு வந்து விட்டது. நம்ம வந்துட்டு ரிவார்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் என்னென்ன அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு நம்ம இதில் பார்த்துக்கலாம். தனியாக ஒரு போஸ்ட் போட்டுறேன், என்னென்ன ரிவார்ட்ஸ் வந்து இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு இன்ஸ்டாவில் போஸ்ட் போட்டுறேன், அதில் பார்த்துக்கோங்க. ஓகே மக்களே, அப்படியே முடிச்சுக்கலாம். தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச், பை.